It's one of the most common personal finance debates, if not the most common. Right up there with rent versus buy, credit card versus debit card. It's, should I put extra payments towards my mortgage principal? Google it, and you'll find articles on this question from the banks, and hundreds of debates on this question on Reddit, and Quora, and any other site where people can ask questions to internet strangers and hear some answers. And the answers usually fall into two camps. Pay off your mortgage early, and you'll save money on interest. You'll have the peace of mind of owning your home with no debt. You'll eliminate that monthly payment from your budget years earlier. Or, don't pay off that mortgage early, invest that money. The stock market will outperform your mortgage rate over time, so you'll do better that way. It's free money. And that's why the debate is never ending, because it really seems to put the personal in personal finance. Some trust the markets to do better than the mortgage interest rate. Some are wary of the stock market and worry too much about a crash. And some don't. I'm here to try and settle this debate once and for all. Yes, I want to put the different strategies to the test and see what comes out on top. I want every future Reddit thread about this topic to be locked immediately with the mods posting a link to this video. I want all those personal finance gurus to take down their articles, their blog posts, their videos, their tweets, everything about this topic, because I'm about to take it head on with data and a spreadsheet. So to test out some different strategies here, we're first going to create some characters. First, meet Paydown Pete. Pete still hasn't removed the plastic liner on his 3-year-old TV. He has adhesive rubber strips in his shower so he won't slip. He wears a helmet while biking, and while hiking, and while swimming, and he wants to pay off his mortgage early. So when he has extra cash, he blows it on the principal of his mortgage. And this is Investment Izzy. Izzy counts her steps every day, only goes to restaurants with a 4.2 rating or above, and has a spreadsheet that tracks her frequent flyer miles. Izzy invests every penny she can, and she's more interested in seeing her stock portfolio grow, and so she just pays her mortgage like any other bill. Pay what they tell you, and nothing more. Those are the two main sides of this debate. But I'm adding two more, because while Izzy is pretty savvy, she never really thinks about her mortgage, she just pays it. So let's meet Risky Rita. Rita tells waiters to surprise her. She clicks on Netflix's Play Something button. And Rita wants to truly invest every penny she can. So she wants to pay off her mortgage as slowly as possible to maximize her leverage, and so she adopts Investment Izzy's strategy, but takes it up a notch. Every time mortgage rates dip by more than 2%, she refinances, then takes advantage of that lower payment by putting the rest into the stock market. And since Rita is Izzy on hyperdrive, let's create a Pete with the pedal to the metal. Meet debt-free Dennis. Dennis has never tried a nut milk. Dennis listens to vinyl, all of it purchased in the 1970s. And Dennis is obsessed with being debt-free. So he's like Pete, in that he puts all his extra money to his mortgage, but like Rita, he refinances every chance he gets. The only difference is he takes advantage of that lower payment by putting even more money towards his principal. So there's our four competitors. Here's the situation we're putting each of them in. They each buy a $200,000 home, putting 20% down. They each have $100 of extra cash each month to do something with. Paydown Pete and Debt-Free Dennis, obviously, put it towards their mortgage principal. Investment Izzy and Risky Rita put it into the S&P 500. Hey, they like risk, but they still love a low-fee investment. And when mortgage rates drop, Paydown Pete and Investment Izzy do nothing. But Risky Rita and Debt-Free Dennis both refinance. Now it's time to see who wins. This is a data-driven site, so I will not be putting a dollar figure on Pete's and Dennis's peace of mind when they own their own homes free and clear. The end goal of this game is to maximize net worth, meaning I want to see who has the most wealth in the form of investments and home equity at the end of 30 years. We've got contestants, we've got a scenario. It's time to run the numbers. Let's open Microsoft Excel. Mise en place. I've prepared the data I need, which is mortgage rates going back to 1972, when the 30-year mortgage took off due to government backing, and S&P 500 returns with annual dividends, also going back to 1972. That's all I need for data. I'm going to show my work now, showing how I calculate how each character ends up at the end of their 30-year mortgage term. Let's use 1992 as a starting point. Those folks who just recently reached the end of their 30-year term last year. First, pay down Pete. Pete gets his $160,000 mortgage at 8.35%, which is where mortgage rates were in January of 1992. His monthly payment, $1,213, most of which goes to interest, of course, in these early payments. So Pete, as his parents could have guessed when they named him, applies the extra $100 he has each month towards his mortgage principal. He starts out with a net worth of $40,000, which is just his home equity, and that will make up his whole net worth for a while since he's not making any investments. And we can scroll down and watch his debt decline and his home equity rise until, boom, peace of mind achieved. He finishes off his mortgage in September of 2014, more than 8 years early. Way to pay down, Pete. Achievement unlocked. This is the moment he's been waiting for. Now he plows that money into the market. That $1,200 he was sending to the bank every month, now he invests that. And we can watch his investments grow until December 2021, when his mortgage would have ended. By the way, I've assigned a 2% annual growth rate to the value of the house, which doesn't really matter since it will apply to all of the competitors. But at the end, here we are. Pete owns his $360,000 home free and clear, and has for 8 years now. And he's got $228,000 in investments. Not bad. His net worth is $591,000, a little over $500,000. Now let's check in on investment Izzy. Izzy's starting data looks just like Pete's, except that the $100 that Pete was putting here towards his principal, Izzy is putting here into the S&P 500. So she gets to watch her investments grow over 30 years. $100 a month, 360 months later, we're at the 30-year finish line. She owns her home now, just like Pete, having finished off that 30-year mortgage. And now she's got $233,000 in investments, compared to Pete's $228,000, so she came out a little bit ahead. Investment Izzy just edges out Pay Down Pete, but just barely. Now for debt-free Dennis. Dennis starts off just like Pete, but I've got these extra columns here to watch the mortgage rates rise and fall, because that is exactly what Dennis is doing every night on his phone before he falls asleep. So he's tracking along with Pete dollar for dollar until August of 2002. 10 years into his mortgage, opportunity knocks. Mortgage rates have dropped, so he refinances his 8.35% mortgage to 6.34%. And I've assumed a refinance fee of 3% of principal, which I'll apply as a negative to his investment account. Then Dennis takes that $471 savings on his mortgage bill and applies it to his mortgage. He's debt-free Dennis. This will continue until October of 2010 when, whoa, rates are at 4.32. There's our 2-point differential again. Dennis hops right out of bed and applies for another refi, another fee, another payment reduction, and now Dennis is off to the races. His mortgage payment is just $160. So $1,150 is going right at that principal, and then boom, mortgage dead. 10 years early. 120 monthly payments gone. Now he's got 10 years of putting that money into the market, and he finishes with $300,000 in investments. Net worth of $660,000, more than $60,000 ahead of Pete and Izzy. Time for Risky Rita, who likes risk and is named Rita. Rita starts out exactly like Izzy, investing her extra $100 per month, so they are tracking dollar for dollar until August of 2002, when she refinances just like Dennis did. But Rita takes that $345 reduction in her monthly payment to invest even more. This continues until October of 2010 when she and Dennis see each other again at the mortgage store? At the mortgage shop? Doesn't matter. It's time for another refi, another fee, and now her mortgage payment is just $600, which means $700 a month is going into the market. Add this all up through the end of 2021, and Rita has an investment portfolio of $590,000. However, her strategy means that it's 30 years later, and she hasn't even paid off half of her initial $160,000 mortgage. But how did we say we're going to determine winners? It's net worth, and Rita wins easily. She's at $860,000, $200,000 ahead of Dennis, and $270,000 ahead of Pete and Izzy. And this is a good example of why I think it's wrong when people talk about being debt-free, about finishing your mortgage early, about paying less in interest. For example, in this story, Pete is now debt-free. Pete finished his mortgage 8 years early. Pete paid a lot less in interest. But Rita right now could withdraw $94,000 from her investment account and pay off her mortgage, and then take another $94,000 and put it into her kid's college fund, and then take a $10,000 trip to the Caribbean, and then buy herself a $60,000 sports car, and still have more money than Pete. I'd rather be Rita, and I don't even like sports cars. They're too small. So that's 1 year. That's 1992. Risky Rita takes gold, debt-free Dennis takes silver, Investment Izzy takes bronze in a photo finish, and Pay Down Pete gets the participation trophy. You did your best, and that's what's important, champ. But that's just 1 year. And it was a period of declining interest rates when they went from over 8 to under 3. And 2007 through 2022 was a fantastic period for the market, so the strategy of refinancing and investing, of course, won out. What happens when we look at other periods? Well, as you may have noticed, I did this exact same exercise for every year. I copied this sheet 45 times and changed the one cell that identifies the starting point, and then let Excel do its magic. Figure out when people refinanced, how their investments did in that 30-year period, how did each person end up in net worth, and then gathered all the results. And here they are. It's not just 1992. Risky Rita was very close to being undefeated, just getting barely edged out by debt-free Dennis when they both bought in 1989. Down at the bottom, getting those participation trophies, usually Pay Down Pete. Except during those double-digit interest years of the 1980s, when he edged out Investment Izzy. Notice that debt-free Dennis almost always beats Pay Down Pete, and Risky Rita always beats Investment Izzy. So one undebatable message is, no matter what your strategy is, you need to take advantage of lower rates when you can and refinance your mortgage. You can always keep paying it down if you want, but then you can do so at a lower interest rate. But at least in this stage in the analysis, the winning strategy is also pretty clear. Put extra money into the market, not into your mortgage. And yes, refinance when you can get a lower rate and take those savings and put those into the market too. Pay off your mortgage slowly and trust the market over the long term to beat your mortgage rate. That may have been a little too confident, but look at all that purple. She's won more gold than Michael Phelps. But let's take down the confidence one notch with one change. Taxes. Taxes reduce your investment returns and lower your interest costs. So taxes hurt Izzy and Rita and help Pete and Dennis. Now, everyone's tax situations are different, but let's take down the investment returns by 15% due to capital gains, and lower the interest rate cost by 15% due to tax time deductions. Now, what does our medal table look like? Risky Rita still wins, but a little less decisively. Debt-free Dennis did better when debt costs were higher in the 1980s, though he never wins by much. And we still have Rita on a 24-year winning streak. So I still feel pretty confident in my recommended strategy. Though I will say that I ran through every refinancing trigger level, and Rita's outcomes were optimized when she pulled the trigger on refinancing every time she had an opportunity to drop her rate by 1.8%. So I'm pretty close to optimal at 2. And 2 is a nice round number that's easy to remember. Okay, so devil's advocate, let's do it. Hey, you know that saying about past performance not guaranteeing future results? That applies here. You're sitting here making a spreadsheet at the tail end of a 16-year period where the S&P 500 went from the 700s to 4,000, so of course your investors are winning. There's still a level of uncertainty with investments, and even looking at 50 years of data, you can't know what the next 30 will bring. Who knows what crazy disruptions are coming to our world? Artificial intelligence and mass joblessness? Environmental devastation? Have you seen the US Navy reports on UFOs? You don't know anything for certain, but I do know something for certain. And that's when I put extra money towards my debt, that debt goes down. That's 100% guarantee in a world with very few 100% guarantees. Your analysis of the past does not predict the future. So go ahead and roll the dice with Rita. I'm riding with Dennis. That's my best devil's advocate. And I do agree that there's more uncertainty going forward when you adopt Rita's strategy. But more risk? If you've just taken out a mortgage, I'd remind you that there's more than one kind of risk. Investment risk exists for sure. But if you go down the path of Dennis, thinking that he's going to win out this time, when you know that Rita has had the winning formula in nearly every year in the history of the 30-year mortgage, then aren't you the one taking the risk? But as I argue with myself here, I realize that I may not have truly ended this debate like I said I wanted to. Though I did my best. So if you want to join this debate, go ahead, jump in. Let me hear your take in the comments.